Hello, my name is Roxanne Russell. I am an instructional designer and faculty member in higher education with over 20 years of experience in the classroom, 12 of those completely online. I would like to share with you what I have found over the years to be the essential principles of instructional design and learning that can help you make smart decisions in an online classroom. These are the principles that we will go over. The process of instructional design should be systematic. Evidence-based learning designs show, scaffold, and sustain. Responsive design makes information available just in time. Instructional design decisions should be learning-centered. Interleaved practice of new skills with new learning sticks. Repeated messages are learned. Repeated messages are learned. The process of instructional design should be iterative. The process of designing for online learning environments could fall under the process of instructional design as defined in our field through this acronym ADDIE. Analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. Of course, the process is not so neatly tied up as this acronym might present. However, approaching the process systematically and knowing that you always need to work through each of these steps, whether they be in different iterations or not, helps keep you on track and helps you move towards a solid, successful project plan. For example, it should always be a part of your plan to show, scaffold, and sustain whatever new knowledge, skills, or attitudes you are trying to introduce to students, because this evidence base, this idea that showing, scaffolding, and sustaining learning is the way that learning works has been proven over and over again. You show learners the knowledge, skills, or attitudes needed for the learning objectives. You scaffold their ability to practice these skills, and you sustain learning beyond the classroom by offering resources and encouraging reflective practice. As much as possible, the strategies for your online learning should make information available just in time, when the learners are looking for it and ready for it. The structure of an online classroom can attend to this by keeping current resources available on opening pages. The important notion for all of us as educators to shake loose is that I put it in the syllabus attitude. Even though it is useful to provide an overview of all activities at the beginning of a course, it is more strategic to repeat this information when it will be most useful to learners. In line with the just-in-time approach, you can be strategic about how much information you provide when learners are looking for it. Similar to chunking, providing just what's needed helps keep learners focused and works against overload. For example, the same information that you may have originally delivered in a long classroom lecture could be rolled out strategically in bits and pieces through a discussion board in answer to students' questions. All of your online learning classroom design and facilitation decisions should be learning-centered. Note, this does not say learner-centered. Even though learners are a primary concern of all design decisions, the learner is only part of the learning equation. You are also working with instructors and tools within different contexts, different types of interaction, for different reasons of assessment, and with different kinds of content. So the imperative is to stay focused on the desired learning outcome. Yes, I hear the collective groaning reaction to the tiresome drumbeat of the instructional designer about writing learning outcomes, objectives, or goals. But don't think of them as the bulleted list of objectives with verbs from Bloom's taxonomy. Think of them as something to hold on to whenever you are faced with a variety of choices, tools, ideas, and possibilities. You can always grab onto one anchor. What is the desired learning outcome? What do I want my students to learn? How do I want them to behave after learning it? And how do I get them there? One way to ensure that your learning experience is effective is to make sure that activities are interleaved with different types of information and practice of skills. Yes, that means that instead of trying to cover all of one topic at once and then leaving it behind and moving on to the next, studies have shown time after time that all learners will hold on to information longer and understand it better if you interleave different skills, different ways to practice those skills, and different types of new information with other newly introduced information, skills, and practice, and repeat that process. So the way that we have been taught to do school, where we go through units, finish that unit, test that unit, and move on, is actually not the most effective way. So if you start to look at your class a little differently and thinking about pulling on information that you didn't plan to cover until later in the term, sprinkle it in early. Go back and pull from what you've covered earlier. Bring it back in. This will help you move towards other evidence-based practices, such as repeating messages. That's right. I'll say it again. Repeated messages are learned. We learn when we see things repeated. Every time we see new information, practice a new skill, hear new information, we are strengthening the neural pathways that make that knowledge we can call on. Actually, seeing and hearing a message double encodes it. Repeated messages are learned. For the final point, I'll return to the topic of the process of instructional design. We started by calling it systematic, and part of that system is that it is iterative. It turns back on itself. It introduces new information from different angles and then changes direction. This iterative process should be ongoing for you as you learn with every new class what you can do and what you can learn from students to make the learning process better and be a master online teacher.